All right, what's up everybody? Dave here, Stance Everything, and we're back with another video, and we are gonna get going on something that I've been meaning to do for a long time now, which is widen my rear fenders. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, why do you have to widen these rear fenders? These wheels are only 7 inches wide and everything looks good. This rear end is typically wider than what most people would run in the back of these trucks. It's an 88F body rear end, so it's a little bit wider. I'll throw up the wheel mount surface to wheel mount surface measurement somewhere down here. But anyway, to run these wheels, I needed to push the fender out, and I've done that last year. I did this with spacers. If you go back and watch some of my other videos, you also see that I kicked out this running board a little bit with some creative mounting of the running boards. You can actually see there where I had to make my own mount anyway. So everything is just about set up for me to do that. And I did do this work on the other side just to make sure that everything was where I wanted it to be. This fender does need to come out just a little bit more. These tires actually had raised letters on them and they're completely gone. These tires are super smooth. I'll show you once I get the wheel off. Definitely need to mess with the spacing a little bit. So we're gonna do that before we start work on this fender. While I'm working on this fender, making it wider, I am also going to fix down here where it cracked from just laying out and dragging it around and things like that. But the first thing we gotta do is get this thing off the ground. And as much as I hate having it in the garage lifted up, that's gonna be the first step to getting everything going. So that's what we're gonna do. Not gonna time lapse that. I'm actually probably gonna jump back with the truck raised up, the fender off, and then we'll talk exactly how we're gonna widen this fender. All right, I got the wheel off and it's on the bench now and you can see what I'm talking about. So I wore off all this lettering on this tire last year. So obviously I didn't space the fender out quite enough, but you know, charge it to the game, ex-stance kid. We had to get this looking right. So now we're gonna fix this properly. So I've got the fender, it's still on here. I'm gonna pull it off and show you what I've got going on underneath to make spacing this fender out a little bit easier. I was just taking a couple measurements. I've got a few notes up on my board there, just on what the other side was spaced out, just so that I know how to make this one. Actually, you know what? I'll just show you the other side right now because this will make a lot more sense. All right, so I apologize, dark side of the moon of my garage over here. Hopefully my phone does an okay job of exposing it, but you can see that there are no more washers in here. Yes, I do need to put one more bolt in here. I haven't drilled that hole. If you go back a couple of videos, you'll see that I actually made that bed size, so that's why that hole's missing. Anyway, this fender is wider by about an inch and a quarter. And I'm gonna do that same thing on that side over there. So we're back on this side of the garage, a lot brighter, a lot nicer. Next thing to do is to pull this fender off and show you exactly how we're gonna get to widening it up. All right, boom, presto changeo, we've got a widened fender. Not really, this is just a mock-up and a very quick one at that. I'm gonna pull this apart and show you exactly what I've been doing to get to this point. I was really lucky to get this inner flange of a fender from another builder for these trucks. He ended up narrowing his, I'll add a photo, and he didn't need these insides. And when I said that I needed an inside on another video, he said, you know what, I've got some. So what I've got here is pretty simple. I don't have any Clecos, so what I'm using is longer bolts with the washers for the space that I need and a nut on the end to space the fender out where I need to. Doing that allows me the opportunity to simply bolt this fender back on, spaced out. Then I go and I draw a mark on this fender, take the fender off, clean up where I need to tack weld it on the truck. So we'll have a widened fender on the truck, pull it off, and then do my final welds over there on the bench, which is a bit of a thing because that bench isn't quite big enough to do all of this, but it's way easier than doing it on the truck. So now I need to put this fender back on the truck, then we'll walk around and see how it fits. We'll jam one of those two wheels back on there and we should be good to then take it off and start prepping. Once I get into the prepping, you'll see me doing some work on time lapse, but until then, it's just a lot of boring on and off, so I'm not really time lapsing any of that. All right, so we're looking pretty good now. Got the widened fender on. We've got plenty of space here now. We're not rubbing it all, and it actually rubs more the higher it is versus the lower it is. Having already done this, I know that this spot here and this spot here are concern areas where it was rubbing before, but again, nothing is hitting here, and I know from experience that the rubbing is actually less the higher the wheel is up in the fender. I know that sounds crazy, but once I jack up the rear end a little bit, you'll see exactly what I mean. I've got the wheel jacked up now, and you can see it's way up there. It's actually a little bit higher than it would be if it was actually laid out. We've got gobs of space now. We're not rubbing anywhere. It's a little bit close right there, but if you actually notice, the fender is dented in here So I'm gonna actually fix that while I'm doing all this other work. So the big thing to do now is to mark where that line is all across, pull the fender off, clean it up, put the fender back on, tack it, and then take everything off, and then we can start welding it up. As you saw, part of dealing with these fenders for me is just space. I had to take off the undercoating on the inside, which will make a lot more sense once we sort of get into it a little bit more. And I took off material on the outside here, which honestly, when I body work it, was gonna have to come off anyway. What I am going to do now, as I mentioned before, I don't have clecos, and this is held together pretty well, but I'm gonna put a couple sheet metal screws in probably about 4 spots, just to keep its shape a little bit more. Then I'm gonna tack it from the outside. We're actually gonna weld this from the inside, but I am gonna put some sheet metal screws in to hold it and do a couple tacks on the outside, which is why I cleaned this up to bare metal, because I want it to hold really well so that when I take it off of here and figure out a way to fit it on my bench, it doesn't move around. And the idea is that I'll tack it a few times, not all the way through, put it back on, make sure it didn't change anywhere, and then weld the entire thing from the inside of the fender, not the outside, to reduce some of the body work that I have to do. All right, check it out, my hailstorm of washers, but the fender is off now, and you can see why I cleaned up in here so I could put a couple tacks in just to keep everything together. This is kind of a rough fit. You're gonna have to finesse things in here to make it all work. So you can see how I really need to kind of get this to lie nice and flat and where it needs to be. So now that this is off, I can run a zip cut from this part where it's bolted down through to here, line things up, and then I'm gonna, tonight, my goal is to do a bunch of tacks and get the inner piece to fall out. You'll see what I mean once I get it out. And then I'm gonna come to here. I've drawn a line here. I'm actually gonna cut probably just a little bit ahead of this. And the reason I'm gonna do that is because when you're doing something like this, the metal moves and it kind of bunches up a little bit. And the last time I had a bit of an issue at the end of the fender here, getting things to line up. If it's loose and overlapping elsewhere, if I can move that position, especially right here where that would be at the top of the fender, where it's gonna be next to impossible to see, that's gonna be probably my best place to make up some difference if things are getting a little bit tight. I didn't do that on the other side, but I think I might try it on this side. All right, I'm not exactly sure where I am going to cut the last bit of time lapse. I was doing a lot of welding and I did a bit of grinding, but you know, that stuff can get kind of boring and repetitive. I know there's going to be a lot of it in this video, so I might limit it in spots. But anyway, I've done a preliminary grind and shape of the fender. There's a ton of work left to do, and obviously some fiberglass filler that's going to go on as well. But what I want to work on now, and I'll try and share as much of this as possible, is fixing this area here. So if you remember a few videos ago, I made a patch that's kind of in this area, and it wasn't very good because the patch panel that I bought wasn't the best. I do have another one now that I did order from the States, tariffs be damned. I think if I got it from Jim Carter's Truck Parts, maybe. It's a pretty nice piece here. It wasn't as bad as the other one that I got, and it is going to fix this area here perfectly. But what I got to do is line up where I want to put this and cut things up. Obviously, I'm not going to be using as much of this end piece here, which is this end piece here in this, and I really want to focus on this area here where it's split from just hitting the ground. So I'm going to get this set up, and then we'll talk about what we want to do. Today, it's Easter Monday, and I really want to get this patch in today. It'll be a good thing for me to do, and then go back inside and spend some time with my family. So give me a few minutes to set a few things up, and then we'll get after it. Okay, so I left my GoPro inside the house today, and many of you know, on a long weekend, if I go inside the house, my time in the garage is done. So I'm gonna do what I can with my phone today. And you can see that I have cut out the original patch that I had in here and laid in the new patch. It's obviously not great. There's some finessing that I want to do, but I need to cut this down to get it to fit in better so that I can start shaping it in the way that I need it to be. There's a little bit of funkiness here because I have the patch shifted over just a little bit so that I can get this corner in here, which is what I really need. That's where I had a lot of weak material. So I think what I'm going to do now with the zip cut is come down here, down along this part here, and then try and get things lined up a little bit. So I'll check back with you in a little bit once I've done that. All right, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is horribly ugly, and this is a lot of stuff that some YouTubers might hide, but it is what it is. When I started cutting, things got away from me going around the corner here. It was just kind of a complex spot, more than I thought. You can see how I kind of had to adjust it here, and then come across here. So with the magic of a grinder, we are going to weld this up, grind it down. It's gonna look way better, and then we'll test fit it on the truck. All right, all things considered, from where we were at before, I think we're going to be okay. Obviously, I still have some more work to do here before we get to fiberglass filler work, and I'm going to do that, but I want to put the fender on and just make sure everything's fitting the way that I like it to. And if it doesn't fit, I swear to God, I'm cutting off this whole bottom piece and finding another fender to steal that from. All right, let's get this on the truck. All right, we got everything close. You can see now that the wheel fits. I did end up doing a little bit of work at the end there, just where it was dented. A little bit more hammer and dolly work to do, but I am very happy with how this is fitting now. It's no longer gonna rub because you can see that I've got a finger gap all the way through. And as I said before, the higher the wheel is up, the less it actually rubs. But we will do one more air it out test fit, and then we'll probably call this video, and then the next one we will be getting into filler work and patina matching and all that fun stuff. So I gotta hop inside right now and finish up dinner and whatnot, but I'll come back with an outro in not too long. All right, in the last clip I said I was gonna jack the tire up, and I've pretty much done that now. This bigger tire does look like it's going to tuck up nicely, and I think it'll all work out pretty well. When I started the video, I had a 70 series tire on here, and I couldn't find that in an affordable size. So this is actually 75. It's a little bit taller, but I've got a lot of room in that fender, and I've got a lot of room in the front fender as well, so I think we should be okay. I had said previously that we were going to end this video here, but I'm a liar. I am actually going to do a little bit more sanding in here just to get everything prepped, and then I'm going to actually put down some fiberglass short strand filler in this video because I have some products I want to test out in the next video, so it just makes sense. All right, I wasn't quite able to figure out a way to suspend this off of the end of my bench without doing a bit more work than I really wanted to do for saving myself a little bit of time. So I've just got it clamped to the table for now. That will work. And the next step, if you cannot tell, is I am going to use Bondo glass. This is one of the rare times I'm actually using Bondo brand filler to cover up all of my welds. So now it's just time for me to lay a little bit of filler down. So I will lay some of this down and then come back and we'll chat about it. All right, second coat is down, and I'm gonna knock down a bit of this tonight, I think. It doesn't look all that great, doesn't look all that bad, doesn't matter. A lot of it is going to be coming off. And when I do that, I don't have fancy tools or anything, just a standard DA sander from Canadian Tire. And I put a 60 grit on there and just let her eat and get everything nice and roughly shaped. And then we go over it with a lightweight filler after that. And I'm excited to use a new lightweight filler, which is going to be my next video. But let's get this knocked down just so that things look a little bit presentable, and then we can finally call this video a wrap. But yeah, we're not too bad. You know the old saying, Bondo and paint, make it what it ain't. All right, continuing the trend of everything takes longer than expected, sanding this all down took longer than I thought, but we're looking pretty good right now, so we could finally film an outro to this video. All right, as you can probably tell by the dust all over me and the dust in the garage, we've done some sanding of the fiberglass filler, which means we're finally ready to film an outro to this video. I have hit this all with fiberglass filler and knocked it down with 80 grit sandpaper. You can see in some areas I had to use a little bit more filler, spread a little bit wider to deal with some of the low spots in some of the work that I did, but it's all gonna sort out really well once I hit it with lightweight filler. And the lightweight filler, I'm probably going to go from here to feather things out more. This is really feathered out already. My finger isn't catching on any of the edges. It looks crazy, but it's actually pretty smooth. And once I go over it with lightweight filler, things are going to look a lot better. All of that lightweight filler work, however, is going to be in another video because there are some products I want to test out, and I figure it's better to do that all in one video versus tacking it on to the end of this video. I'm going to start that video right after this outro, so if you see me looking crazy in this outro and crazy in the beginning of the next video, that's because it was all filmed in the same night. I promise once I get this fender back on the truck, we're going to do some rolling, so 2-3 videos from now, we're going to be driving this thing around. I absolutely promise you. Give me a like, a comment, a subscribe, let me know how I'm doing, and I will see you in the next video, which I'm going to start filming right now.